Good evening, everyone. It's Michelle Howe from Empath Evolution and Crystal Lunbeck tonight with Soul Connections, and we're excited. We're excited to have a conversation about a lot of different items. We had like a little brainstorm this afternoon, and we said, what are we going to talk about tonight? And the idea of success, foundation, the root chakra, and what comes along with that as we entered into the holiday season. That was what we're looking at in the discussions. We're going to wrap it all around that very important topic because we seem to forget the root chakra. And the root chakra is about family, safety, being here, and succeeding in this space of earth rules. So before we get into that, I want to introduce myself briefly and introduce Crystal, and I'll have Crystal say a little bit more so you hear from her. But I am the founder of Empath Evolution. I started it about 3 years ago, and there's a lot of labels I could give to what I do. It's evolved along the way, but basically I wanted to step in and bring people to understand what energy was and how they could be impacted by energy and what it looks like once you start awakening to being more of an empowered empath. And along with, I found a lot of things along the way that we need to know about and create and come together with. But the way that I phrase things and I process things is actually very, very its own way, and Crystal comes in with her own way, and you'll see in a minute how it's just awesome to see two minds come together in a different synergy, but coming to the similar conclusion a different way. What I do with Empath Evolution, I do private consultations, I do awakening circles, I do empath gatherings, which is in person. I do these, which is online, and I have a lot of other plans for what's coming. So take a look at empathevolution.com, and if you have any questions, just let me know, because I do have like a discovery session, which is just an opportunity to speak with me and to talk to me and to get a little bit of information, because I found that a lot of people don't really know what it is that I do or what it is that an empath is, and they just need a little bit more information and guidance. And sometimes it turns into an opportunity for me to work with you or to give you just some other options of where you need to go next. So there's a lot of paths all going to the same place. And I hope to make these topics, like we named this Soul Connections, because I'm a deeper person, and I think that is the direction that I want to go, and the people that I work with are deeper people. That's the bottom line. So I want to introduce Crystal. Crystal's been a friend of mine for a lot of years now, 4 or 5 years, and we were talking about, she has so many skills. She has a wealth of knowledge in all the different areas, from empath to metaphysical to healing with herbs and healing energetically. She's a wealth of information. We're going to call her a wellness consultant. But her experience is a little bit different than mine getting here, and you'll see as you meet her just how it all intertwines. I really love practical, very direct. She's very solution-oriented, which I am as well. So, Crystal, you want to say hello?
Hey. Hi, everybody.
You're in New Mexico, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am in southern New Mexico, like central, south New Mexico.
Okay. And it's always hot there, right?
No, I wish it was always hot here. No, we have seasons. They're not as extreme as other places. It's a mild climate, but we can get snow It doesn't usually last very long, but we can get snow, and so we have heaters. We have to have those. So part of that is because it's a desert, and the temperature change between night and day is a lot more extreme without the humidity.
Oh. So you're a science person, my dear, just from you even saying that sentence. You know how to explain the dynamics of the weather very well, which is good. So I want everyone to know that, this event tonight is an hour. It can go to an hour and a half if we have questions. And there are a couple people on the phone. If you come, into the using the computer, I'm not going to see you here, but you can submit a question in the Q&A box, or you can say hello in the Q&A box or in the chat. All right? So Brian is here. Hi, Brian. He says hi. Okay. So I want you guys to know that everything that we're saying tonight is being recorded. So I'm hoping to put this on YouTube. If there is something personal that you want to say, only your first name is ever going to be repeated. So don't come on and say it if you don't want it recorded, because everything is recorded, and I'm going to put it on YouTube just to give you a heads up. I would like to. There's Brian. All right. So, Crystal, let's talk a little bit here. When we got on the phone today, we talked about success, grounding, root chakra. How do you see this playing into people's lives nowadays? Like, is this really an issue we need to be concerned about, or is the root chakra all fine all by itself? It's just going to do it.
No, it is not all fine all by itself. No. It's your foundation. It is your security, your safety, your inner circle, your family. It is probably the closest point to your soul as an energy center, as far as what allows you to flourish in the others. And I know that the other chakras are fun. They are. They're a good time. Third eye, go. But if you don't have your esteem, your confidence, you have fears, you don't feel secure, and that could be many different types of securities, unsure about things. Really, that's going to affect all of your energy. It's going to affect the way you present yourself, what you want to do, and it can tie into success, which, what is success? It sounds like an easy term to define, but it's really not, because it's very much dependent on the individual. It isn't always jobs or money. It is, are you successful at life? Are you comfortable where you're at? Are you secure? And if you're not able to check in with yourself and evaluate it, hey, how are you doing? How do you feel about these things? You can't really define some of the others, some of the other emotions, some of the other energy sources. One of the big things is the heart chakra. But if you're not good with yourself, how can you be good with everybody else? And I think that ties into the success, and it also ties in with security and comfort. And the reason that I brought this topic up today with Michelle was, it seems like every year there are different questions or concerns with the holidays, be it Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Some of that ties into family. Some of it ties into just having a lot of people around or having people over. It could even tie into going to the grocery store because it's going to be more crowded. It can tie into even your personal space, like your physical personal space as well as your energetic. They cram as much stuff in these stores as they can. You know as well as I do, the aisles, you know what? They're not aisles anymore. They're just cattle herding stations. Everybody's trying to get to the back or get to the front. And it seems like that causes anxiety with a lot of people that are sensitive. And some of that all ties in. Is it a huge subject? Of course it is. But I thought that we could discuss it at least a little bit to see if we could maybe alleviate or offer suggestions or even ideas to consider with the holidays coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, being that it's foundational, it's about family. The holidays the root is very, very much impacted during the holidays, and it could take you totally, if your root chakra isn't balanced and feeling nice and healthy, you're going to be insecure to go to a gathering. So, you know, one of the things that I recommend with the root chakra really is, we all know about grounding, but grounding is important. It is a practice that we do all the time just to stabilize all of the energy that's running through all of our system. And, of course, the root chakra is what everything gets funneled down that way, so it's just a clearing. But in total, I would work with step by step. You know, if I'm talking about my root chakra, I'm talking about feeling comfortable with myself, feeling safe, feeling secure. I would work with it energetically, yes. And how do you do that? You bring energy into that chakra and you clear it with intention, with your hands. At least this is how I look at it and how I manage it, with a color. Because the beauty about being an empath is that I can do a lot of things that other people don't even know they can do. But I fully believe in it because I can feel it. So that is one thing that just kind of keeps it healthy. But there needs to be the second part, is where are the human skills? Where is the, you know, what is in there that's causing you grief? How do I deal with an overactive or an underactive root chakra? Because they go both ways. How do I stabilize and balance it? And that's done. You can clear some things off, but you have to be consciously aware and tap into, what is my mind? Where am I being led? What am I feeling? What do I think is truth? What will calm me down and bring all of this action that's bringing me out of balance into some sort of calmness that I can function in life, that I know my place in life, that I feel secure, that I feel safe, that I am not, you know, constantly concerned about going to a family event or going to the mall or going to the grocery store. There's a lot involved in doing that stuff, but again, I always look at this as, I am going to strengthen my chakras, I am going to clear my energy body, I'm going to know who I am, I'm going to be grounded when I walk in there. And I have gotten to a point where wherever my attention, like, I can see something and not want to be part of it, and I move away from it without getting into energy that I don't want to. Now, is it challenging at times? Absolutely. Absolutely. Crystal, what do you got to add? I just went on a roll there.
Hey, we got to go on a roll, right?
Yeah, we got to go on a roll every so often. How do you handle your root chakra? I mean, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, I can do the energetic as well. And I know not everybody senses it or sees it or feels it the same way.
Right.
But, you know, when you're getting bogged down, if you're thinking of traveling, the energy kind of does the same thing. And as it's circling through your body, going up and down, doing the spirals, when it hits a block or a sticky spot, it actually slows down. And when it slows down, it can almost get, I don't know, mucked up or contaminated, like it gets stuck that place. And it messes with the flow. Yep. Right, it messes with the flow. And when that happens, you know, it affects all the others. It affects other things. So it doesn't just affect one. It's going to affect all of your energy centers. It's going to affect your body. You're just going to either have anxiety, be more tired, moody, other feelings. And, you know, sometimes what you're feeling isn't necessarily coming from the exterior. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's actually coming from inside. And it can be, you know, bogged down just based on the flow, based on, you know, how it's continuing on the path. Either the momentum, I guess is the best word. Mm-hmm. And I know generally when you look at the photo, you've got the person, you know, that's kind of in gray, and all of the chakras are lined up through the middle with all of the colors. But that doesn't generally show you the actual flow. It shows you where they are, but it doesn't show you what they're doing or what's being done. And when you have something overactive, it's almost like it's hyper. And for lack of a better word, it can Wile E. Coyote. I mean, it's going down, spins around your moon, and comes up too fast. It can cause issues. But if you're actually underactive or bogged down, blocked, have some sort of, you know, situation, it's going to slow things down, and it's almost going to kind of collect and get heavy in an area. I focus more on the flow than I do individuals necessarily energy work. I don't I don't usually work on one per se. I work on the actual flow and the collective. Other than that, though, I usually am just mindful. You know, what is this? What is this that I'm feeling? What is going on? And I do check in with myself, you know, how am I doing? And I know that sounds strange, but sometimes you ask everybody else, how are you today? Hey, how you doing? Why can't you ask yourself that? And sometimes you need to give yourself an honest answer. Now, when it comes to like the holidays, we can do a lot when it comes to, you know, gatherings or shopping or whatever. I'll be honest with you. Most of the time, I do not have a problem. I can go to the store. I don't have to do an elaborate preparation. I'm going to the store. I know what this means. Am I ready? Yep, I'm ready. I'm ready for it because I pretty much know what's going to happen there. I've been through it before. But during the holidays, I admit, even I will be like, okay, am I ready? And no, I don't want to go there. You know what? I'd rather give a cat a bath. But I know I need to. So the question kind of changes. Do I want to go? No, but I need to go. So then the question changes. Can I handle this? Yeah, I can handle it. And honestly, my biggest resistance is getting there. Once I actually get into the store, I can, test the waters, feel the temperature. I know what's there. And then I'm fine. it's almost like the actual outside of the store, the parking lot, the doors, getting your card or doing whatever you're doing in the front. That's almost where the most resistance is for me. But I think that it has more to do with me than it has to do with what's inside. Because once I get inside, I'm fine.
Now, it's interesting because the holidays for me, okay, so there's many facets to it. There is, just getting together with family and going for dinner at Thanksgiving, to me, is not stressful. To me, because I have somebody that actually prepares everything, I have a mom that's very active that way, very involved. I'll make one thing, and it's a fairly easy for me to get there. There's no pressure. The pressure is really more self-imposed when Christmas comes around and we have to buy gifts for everybody and we have to do Christmas cards and we have to decorate the house. I mean, there is an inordinate amount of things that come into play when we're talking about the holidays. And, at this point, it's like anything else. If you've done something more, you have a better feel of how to avoid overwhelm or exhaustion or too much. What am I? I'm almost 50 years old. I won't say that too loud, but I am almost 50. And, there's a lot to be done without more pressure out of me. So what I do is I try to flow with it as much as possible. Like I have certain things that I normally would do get put on the side burner because here I am trying to accomplish and put in things into our schedule that typically wouldn't be in it. So the days that lead up to Christmas are definitely numbered, and I'm definitely on. But I've taken some things off of so I that's how I circumvent and prepare is by shutting down some other things that are happening because it's impossible to do everything. And whether, I am a very sensitive empath or not, most people are stressed out of their mind trying to do all these things. So I just kind of lay low with it and do what I can. And there are peaks and valleys to that statement. But as far as what Crystal was saying about shopping and whatnot, for the most part, I do a lot of what I need to do online. And then if I'm going to go
Amazon.
shopping, oh my gosh, thank God for the internet
Amazon.
when it comes to that. It's just, and I'll make before I go anywhere, I make a list of what I want. Of course, I can peruse around at times, but I don't want to be stuck somewhere, all day long, just wandering around. I want to be, to make the most use of my time, I need to have some sort of idea of what I'm doing. So there come all the lists and the organization that comes with it. But that's just, that's my way of doing it. Grocery store, yep, I'll send my husband to the grocery store. I have actually done that. It's actually become like a running joke because he's like, if you do this to me again, and he's not an empath at all, but he doesn't want any part of going during the holidays to the grocery store to get me things for last minute stuff that I'm making. But
that in of itself probably says a lot.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I'm just saying, even other people that don't have the same sensitivity, they don't want to be there either.
No. So
and they might describe it in a different way. It's so busy or it takes so long or whatever it is, but they're not thrilled about it either.
No. So if I were to go, when I go to the grocery store every week or 2 weeks, right in there, I do it. I am usually I go during the day. I don't go like on a busy weekend, not because of anything, but I'm annoyed by traffic. I'm annoyed by too much of people that I have to get around. So I try to go when there's less people. it seems to work out well with the empath stuff, but I I'm not I don't know what I do exactly, but I tune out people and energies. It's almost like I'm not connecting with certain things because I don't want to. And when I want to, I will, but it's not impacting me as much. So the sensitivity, and I look at it as I could get, if I'm connected to somebody energetically, I'll be very much impacted if there's that going on. So I'm more concerned about a family gathering with people that are out of control and that are, emotionally distraught or just not feeling the greatest as compared to going to the grocery store. There's a different dynamic for me. So the grocery store, I can stay pretty impartial. It's just, it could be stifling unless I am feeling good. I'm feeling centered. I am strong. I'm not impacted by this energy around me because it's just not flowing through. And do I use what are they called? People put shields around them and stuff like that. I always have, my energy is strong to begin with. I have a natural boundary. That's the way I look at it. Sometimes if I go into a situation that's really, I know, thick and not so easy to be in, I will layer what's around me more. But in total, it's not that bad after it's never really been that bad. I know what it is now. I know how to step back and away from certain energies and not be as impacted. But I've worked on this. So, Crystal, have you always had the same experience with crowds that you do today, or has your ability to deal with this improved or changed along the way?
You know what? I think it's always been pretty much the same. The difference being that I probably understand it a little better. My behavior might have changed some. I think when, my kids were little and we had to go out and do things and I had 3 little boys with me, I probably didn't interact with people the same way or as much, you know what I mean? I was very focused on watching them do the task and that's it. Now, if I see somebody I know or I can, chat with the cashier, and I don't think I was rude. I was just I have things, I've got to watch these people. They can get away from me. So I think maybe my understanding or awareness has changed. And I mean that in a thinking sense. I always felt the same, like, I don't want to go do this. There's all these people and the parking lot's full and I have to walk for a mile and I have to go in it was that kind of thought and feeling. Now I think I understand it in a different way of there's more to it than that. But I think that I've pretty much been okay with some of that. I think one of the differences, too, is that I couldn't avoid it. My husband was active duty military. There was nobody else that was going to go to the grocery store. Our family was, over 1,000 miles away. If I didn't go, then who was going to go? We didn't have, the delivery services we do now. You had to go to the grocery store. So I think maybe it's more about my understanding of it, but I also was forced into it. I never had the option where, okay, I'm going to keep putting it off and avoiding it to where it maybe built up to be something bigger than it is.
Right.
So I think that probably ties into it.
Well, and the thing is, you learn when you have to do something, you learn new coping skills. You do it. You're going to do it. There's no choice about it. And in total, I don't know. I actually, for me, when I go to the grocery store, sometimes it has been, let me get away from the house and the kids and the cooking, and here's some time for myself. I'm going to the grocery store. I really don't pay attention to that many people around me. I do carefully pick what cashier I want to deal with, and it's usually a pleasant experience. So, again, each one of us is going to look at it and feel it and experience it just a little bit different based on our conditioning, our how sensitive we are, how we feel, how we manage our energy, where our attention goes, because energy goes where attention is focused. So if we're focused on other people, our attention is going out there, feeling out the environment all around us. If our attention then comes back into us and we know what our energy is, we can stay grounded in that way. So that's the way I look at it. And for 40 years I knew nothing about this, Crystal. I just did what I needed to do, moody, anxious, without really an awareness that there was such a word as energy. I just knew I understood people. I liked people. People were interesting. I liked to meet them. I was tired sometimes. I was tired more than I wished to know, and I'd get overwhelmed. So it's like this package of symptoms that I have. There are so many people that have this package of symptoms, and it can be addressed. If with a little bit of knowledge, it can be addressed, and they could be empowered in a different way. So, Crystal, what do you think about the family gatherings part of it?
Honestly, that's a little hard for me to address. And the reason being is that for over 25 years, it was just me and the kids, and sometimes my husband was there if he wasn't out to sea or deployed. So there wasn't a big family gathering. It was just us. And it was comfortable. It was easy. Of course, I did all of the cooking, and that wasn't easy. But, it really, I can't address that because for me, if we actually had a family gathering or we're with our family, it's exciting because we don't get to do it very often. It's not something we dread. It's something we get to sit and talk and we get to eat, and it's just different. It's not an obligation.
You don't have the big gatherings of people coming together or the uncomfortableness of, I want to call it karmic, the conflict that exists in some families is palpable. And the resentment and the childhood experiences. I'm just trying to think out of the box here because, I talk to lots of empaths, and there are lots of dynamics from their family of origin that are there to trigger them. Here you're 40 years old, you can go to a family gathering and you could remember things from when you're 20 and you're 15. You could be triggered. So the only thing I would say is if you're consistently working on yourself to neutralize the energies that throw you, the experiences, I talk about neutralize, rewriting, rescripting, releasing. Those are all things that not only are we here to do for ourselves, but we're here to kind of model and be able to if we can, teach others if we're being asked that. But it's not to be in this reactionary, it's to change the way that we're interacting with all this dynamic. And sometimes that means we're moving away from it for a bit. If we can't handle it, we can't handle it. If somebody is destructive for us and the energies are too intense and too heavy and you can't handle it, then no one can tell you or blame you if you step back from it. What I would say is to take a look at it and see about healing it for yourself, healing whatever it is from impacting you, and being able to step back without being reactionary, like being able to deal. So at the end of the day, where I see us all going is to be able to look at somebody who is totally screwed up, either overactive or underactive chakras, either in victim mentality or doing things that are totally don't sit right by all intents and purposes. They're either codependent, or they're blaming other people, or they're whatever. There's all kinds of things going on out there. To be able to look at that person with another lens, to see either their inner struggle or, well, it's either they have an inner struggle, which all of them do, otherwise they wouldn't be acting like that, and they have this big, huge, they have an inner struggle because they have this big, huge ego that's not allowing them to see anything, and maybe they don't want to, and maybe it's not time, and maybe they'll keep going the way that they're going. And how are you going to react to that? Are you going to judge it? Or are you going to pause, see it, stand there with it, not allow it to bully you, not allow it to take advantage of you, not allow yourself to go down into it, but to respond in a way that you stay at your vibration, and if anything, maybe you bring them up to yours. Like to have that compassionate side of you that's not impacted by what you're looking at and what you can feel. You are stepped back enough and in your own energy that you can look at something, know what it is, and not get caught in the weeds of it. That is where we're all going. It doesn't mean that we're there today. We could be there for certain things and not for other things, but at least that's the way I look at it. And when I first started this journey, I'd go to different events, family events, and sometimes I just couldn't handle, I just had to step away from certain conversations or certain people because I was not in a place where I could handle it. And even, now I'm in a definitely a 300% better place, but I am very careful what I engage in and where I put my energy, and I try to look very hard sometimes for the light in people, for that soul connection, the soul, what's the soul saying, and where's that person's lesson and what's going on with them. So I'm not judging them, I'm just observing the interaction, and I'm not going in to save them. Gosh only knows there is that compulsion to go in and help somebody all the time. And there is a time when we can help, and there's a time when, you're wasting your breath. You're not helping. You're not helping. If anything, you're exhausting yourself because your energy is going out the door because of where you're putting it. So that's kind of like what I look at, Crystal, when I think about family.
See, honestly, I think I would probably see it a little bit different.
Would you?
I would. I think if there's a trigger, that has to do with me. I mean,
yes.
Maybe they pushed the button, but I'm the one that has it. That means some of it, at least, maybe not all, but some of it is my responsibility. And usually
absolutely.
it is either something that, hurts, or something that there's going to be some sort of emotion there. When you are sparked, when you get that trigger going, there's something there that needs to be investigated. And, I mean, I can understand in the moment it might be, you get the feeling, just move back or whatever. But really, in a way, I think some of those, I know right now it's a big word, I'm triggered, and move away and all this. I don't see it that way. I see it as information. Information that is being brought to my attention because either I overlooked it or I wanted to overlook it, or I didn't know, and it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be investigated, because I don't want to walk through everything always being surprised at my reaction, being surprised at myself, and, oh, where did this come from? I don't like that. I want to know where I'm at. So with some of this, I mean, I understand people can get caught up in themselves, or they're always telling you how great everything with them is and how horrible it is with, I don't know, whoever else it is. With things like that, honestly, I'm just not emotionally, invested. So I don't care. And if I don't care, I mean, I can listen, but I'm not connecting. No, it doesn't impact me. I mean, I might get annoyed because, they've got problems, obviously. But, so, as long as it isn't impacting me, really, then it's just impacting them. They're the one that's continuing the cycle. Now, if they wanted to break it, great. But if they're, really enjoying it, then obviously that's not something they want to change. But as far as really a trigger, I see that as my responsibility.
Right. Well,
even if it comes down to being, I need to be aware that this can happen and I need to investigate it so that, what if I was emotionally involved with that situation? I shouldn't have been. You know what? That's still my responsibility. I shouldn't have gone there. So I kind of see it a little different, but.
Well, I don't know if you misunderstood me or if I didn't say it right, but I think we're saying the same thing, because there's
probably
a
we're probably saying the same thing in a different way.
Well, it depends on why I'm moving away from something. If something doesn't interest me, or if I feel something is just kind of trivial, not really my cup of tea, it doesn't resonate with me, I'm not into it, I back away.
Egotistical, yeah.
Oh, it's all, actually, I find some of this stuff amusing. I mean, I've come to a point where I find it amusing to listen to some of it, but I don't want to stay in it for, like, a long time. On the other hand, and I can actually change the dynamic of what's happening to a degree, but some people's energy is so heavy that, honestly, I don't want to really, I say as minimal as possible, because it's just prickly to me. I'm like,
and if you're not engaging it, it tends to, I don't know, taper off to some extent.
I don't know. I don't know that I've seen it do that. I mean, usually it's not attracted to me because I won't engage it. I'm not feeding what it is.
Right.
So it's not getting what it really wants out of me.
Right.
It's just that.
And it will move to another person or something will change.
Absolutely. And, and my reaction is, yay. That kind of a thing, because when we have family gatherings, I mean, there's at least 18 to 22 on one side, and there's at least that amount, if not more, on the other side. So it's not a small gathering. There's a lot of people, and there's some really great people. And then and actually all of them are great. It's just that some of them are so caught up in their stuff, and the energy is like they're shooting things out. And I'm like, oh. Like, is that how you are?
Yeah.
That is, when you're in that close of a vicinity to it, it works okay, but let me tell you, I do tune out sometimes. And when I do tune out, I'm tuning out because guess what? I'm into something else. I don't want to be focused on that anymore. That's there. That's, that's fine. So, but when I see a trigger is something to me different, it's, I'm going to lose my temper at you. I'm going to snap at you. I am really depressed by what you're saying. I feel lesser than because of what you're thinking. Those are triggers. And, someone could say something, like your sister could say something in such a way that it reminds you of when you were young. And you've got this little snag, a little snag in you. And that's when you go into it and you try to figure out what's that about. You address it in some way, either within yourself or with the other person together. Because half the time it's just a miscommunication. You take your it's like you've associated that kind of a response with a certain reaction or emotion in you, and it reactivates it. Sometimes that's true to the case, and other times it's not. It's just you need to get that emotion out of you, and you need to see why and where it came from and what does it mean for me. And no, it's not the other person's fault, but it's something that you can straighten out with them as in a conversation, not in like a challenged fight with them. Ideally, those are ideals. But you do, Crystal, actually do a really good job of staying unemotionally involved in things. I would say most people have a hard time. Most empaths are more emotional than what you are. But I could be wrong.
I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I think maybe I just have a better poker face.
Probably. Probably.
Before we go on, what about the people that don't have their family, or they're alone, or they're feeling left out, they're feeling sad, depressed, that they don't have somebody for whatever reason? Do you have any suggestions for them?
That's a little bit of a different switch. We're switching.
It is, but it comes up, and that's why I'm bringing it up. It comes up every year, both sides.
Both sides. One side's overwhelmed by family, and the other side is lonely.
Right.
Lonely because and
they
trust
feel
me when
isolated.
I tell you.
They can feel very isolated because they see the TV ads and everybody getting together and everybody shopping and all of the things that you associated and that we've talked about. And for whatever reason, they don't have that, and they're wondering how to feel better in that situation. And some of it might be choice. Some of it might be circumstance and temporary.
Yeah.
But how could we encourage them? What are ideas for people like that? Because I don't think that one is easier than the other. I think they're both legitimate issues.
Well, and to just add a twist to that, there's plenty of people that are surrounded by family but are lonely nonetheless.
Right.
So what I would say, if this were me, I would try to. First of all, I don't think we're ever alone, anyways. There's always company, even if it's a spirit guide. But I do understand looking and wanting and yearning for companionship or friendship, either one. It's not a solution. It's what I would say is to reach out and do and incorporate something new. Not a lot new. Something new that you haven't done. Do something, maybe go volunteer somewhere where you could be around people and do something good and get into that festive mode where you are around other people that are grateful to have you there. Someplace where you're needed and you would be appreciated. I'd have you reach out. And if you're really feeling alone, the best thing is to find a companion, which is mostly a pet that's going to help you intermittently, at least take the edge off of feeling so alone, is to have somebody there for you, is to start engaging in some way and seeing the beauty of your life and seeing the positive in your life. And you build on that till you have developed a friendship that is a two-sided, developed some different people that are close to you that you can you've slowly developed something where you can rely on them to some degree. Without, and this comes back to how do you develop long-term, relationships, mutually beneficial relationships with people that support you, encourage you, they're positive for you. And I believe it starts with building yourself, putting yourself out there, seeing the good in yourself, putting yourself in a place of service, in a place where you have something you've given to yourself. So give something to yourself, give something to others in the process you give to yourself. So you have to be somewhat discerning to put yourself in a nice, solid, friendly place to build up this love. It's like almost like this, you're building up your life full of love, full of all these different places where you can deposit love and receive love, and deposit love and receive love. And you're not receiving love because they have to give it to you, but it just in the gesture of what you're doing it without anything expected in return, and within that, in that dynamic, something positive comes back to you. So it's about planting seeds in all these different areas that could flower, and eventually, and if you haven't had time to plant those seeds and whatnot, and you find yourself lonely or isolated or by yourself, you have to find a way to recuperate your humor, your sense of I'm not by myself, I'm with myself, and do little things to make yourself feel better. You can journal, you know what I mean? But in all of life, you really don't want to be, you have to reach out too, because what came to mind was, we were in a neighborhood here, and sometimes people are by themselves. Their family, their parents have passed away, and they're by themselves. And it took a little bit of time, but one of my neighbors, she wasn't always very interested in intruding on anybody. And she's very nice, but she'd always keep to herself. And so she's an example of somebody that you need to know, you need to have certain people in your life, and don't discount people around you. You don't have to be super, super close, but if you're kind and they're kind and she's walking her dog and she's meeting the neighbors, you start slowly but surely building a life where people know who you are. And everybody that I know is in some way or another loving, connecting with other people. Whether we like it or not, we're social beings. We like to be with other people. So put some of that in your life, and in the process of doing that, if there's something that you say to yourself that's not so helpful, if there's some negativity that pops up, no, that's not going to work, or I don't deserve that, or they won't like me, that is your stuff coming. That's stuff you've got to work on shifting and changing, because it's not going to help you feel comfortable and safe and secure and loved in life. That's the stuff that keeps us down. So I went on a roll, Crystal. What do you got to say?
Well, I agree. I mean, because you have to give them a chance to give you a chance. Because if you don't, then really you're just not giving yourself a chance. If you, they won't like me. Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you make it. Part of the reason I bring this up is I do see both sides every year. And I don't think that it is an easy thing to fix, especially if you're like, it's after Halloween. Oh, no. What am I, there's no one there. People already start getting depressed. for whatever reason, and like I said, it could be that, they've moved
It could
away,
be physical
or
things too. It could be physical. Yeah.
right. It could be a disability. It could be an illness. It can be lots of things. The reason I bring it up is because right after the holidays is everybody's favorite, the beginning of the year, and they're going to make their resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
I highly suggest that if you're feeling this way, don't wait for the new year for one. Do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. And it doesn't have to be, oh, hey, I'm going to be all alone for this. Do you want to come over and hang out with me on whatever holiday? Start small. Get to know people. Like you said, if you're walking your dog or you have a pet, and expand out. Talk to people around. Talk to whoever you are in contact with. But it doesn't have to be this big thing. It can start with, do you want to get a cup of coffee sometime? Do you want to, they don't like coffee. Okay, hot cocoa. The wheatgrass juice. Whatever it is you're into, see if there's not somebody that you notice that seems to be feeling a little similar to you. Or you notice a similarity, or it could just be somebody that is cheerful and we're pretty much sure they're going to say, yeah, we can do that. Start with little things, and you might be surprised. You might be looking at things where I'm not going to have this year or again. You know what? Give people a chance or you yourself a chance. You never know. You might start tomorrow and you get invited somewhere. Or somebody comes up with a plan. I know some people, older people, people with illness situations, they will actually go out and have Thanksgiving at like a Denny's. Nobody has to cook. You get to visit. You can have pancakes if you want. Just something that ties you in. And I know that it's hard for people. I understand that. But look at the alternative, which is better. And that choice is up to you.
Mm-hmm. One year my neighbor, we have a dog. We have a Jack Russell, and she's on her own. She has a brother and a sister out of state. And she'd always walk. I was always, hi, how you doing? And finally she'd always admire the dog. You want to get a dog? No, I'm not home enough. I can't get a dog. It's okay. It's all right. So we went away for a weekend, and we asked her, could you please watch her dog? We really need someone to watch the dog. So she was a little reluctant, and we were a little afraid to ask her. But we did, and she watched the dog, and when we came back, she was so thrilled. She was so thrilled to be watching this dog, but it was hard to kind of read fully, and then the next weekend she came home, she got herself a dog. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, she goes, I enjoyed it so much, it's companionship, truly, because I'm just thinking of myself, how challenging it would be to be in a house by myself most of the time. You know what I mean? So you can start small gatherings. You can reach out to people. You can bring your spirits up. You can just get out of the house, 3 times a week and make it a date to meet for breakfast. Whatever it is.
Right.
Just, yeah. So, anything else that you got in your mind, Crystal? Because I want to see about questions.
I was going to say, what about questions? So, great minds think alike. Do we have any questions?
There are no questions here. Let me just see in this chat. I don't think so.
What about people on the phone? Did you tell them how to raise their hand?
Good point. Okay, so I have a lady from Cincinnati. I'm saying it's a lady. I don't know if it's a lady, but I have someone from Cincinnati. I have someone from L.A., Louisiana. I think so. Eunice,
Yep.
Louisiana.
Yep.
If either one of you have any questions and you want to raise your hand, you would do *2 on your phone to raise a question, and anyone that's on the computer that wants to ask a question, at the bottom of the event, there's a Q&A section. You could write your stuff in there, and it comes through. I want to give them a little bit of time, Crystal, just so they can think about it.
I agree.
But I'm trying to think what else. Holidays. You know, the interesting part of holidays is, you know, there was a time when I would think about it, like now. And now it actually changed to, there was a time I actually would have a whole day of baking. And there was a time I would make 5 different pies. Now everything is streamlined to less, and more less. Because it's tough. It's tough to get into that. When I get into that holiday mode, everything that I do around me kind of stops. I can't do 2 things at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's managing the month of December that is the challenge, and the expectations that we may have of ourselves. It just reminds me of the time when my daughter was born January 3rd, but she was due the end of January. So when that December came, I looked at my husband, I said, don't expect, we are not doing decorations. I am not doing all this work. I am going to be too tired to do before or after. So it was the first time that I actually minimal if anything. And you know what? Christmas still came. I still celebrated it. We still, you know, bought the presents and all the wrapping and everything else. Less is sometimes more.
I agree.
And I do agree about the shopping at Christmas time. It's insane. But if you go in, you go out, keep your focus on what you're doing without like getting too caught up with what's around you, you'll do better.
Well, yeah. I think it probably popped into my mind. As you know, the last time, what was it, last month, so a month ago, we tried this, and my phone was garbage, and I needed to use my husband's phone, and he said, we've got to go get new phones. So a month ago, we went to get phones, and we're walking through the mall, and Dillard's already had up all of the Christmas stuff. All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the perfumes were spraying, which really gets me because I'm sensitive to smells. And all of the cinnamon pine cones, and I was thinking, it's just October. So that's probably when I started paying attention to, you know, and I admit, I was like, really? You guys are doing this already? I'm not ready. I'm not physically, emotionally, or financially prepared for this, people. And we actually were at the mall yesterday, and so I knew it was going to be there. And they've added a few things, but not gobs. I think they're spraying more perfume. But it seems like some of it, too, is just, it starts so early. And almost the anticipation or thinking about it can start
more,
too. And right. And I was sitting there thinking, why do I dislike this so much? Because I like Christmas. You know, I like the stuff, the sparklies and the lights. And I realized, you know what? I'm disliking all of this because I'm not ready for it. And then a little voice said, you don't have to be. You don't have to be. you're right. It's the beginning of October. Just wait. And so I did. I just completely blew it off and kept going.
Yeah. Well, so it's instead of buying into what is there, it's
right.
like whether it's the media on the news, whether it's the shopping out there, whether it's the image of a person and the way they're supposed to look and feel, what they are projecting that we should be doing.
Exactly. Exactly. I saw the projection. I didn't like it. And I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And, there's a choice there. Sometimes you don't realize it, but there is. You know what? Do what you want to do. Enjoy what you want to do. I mean, decide. Decide what it is.
That
okay.
really reminds. What's wrong?
You know what? We've got a question on here.
We do?
We do. On the live chat.
Oh, in the chat.
I'm pretty sure that's Brian. What do you guys do of letting go of people, places, things, etc.? Letting go of them.
Brian,
well,
come back. Come back on the
coming back
phone.
to the emotional part.
Yeah.
Well, see, a lot of those are tricky because you're talking about people, places, and things.
Hold on, I'm going to ask him. Give me more.
Well, what I'm getting at is sometimes the places can be an energy or a presence, or they can be a memory.
Oh.
So sometimes it can depend on how you let go of them, depending on how it's impacting you. How is this actually affecting you? Is it a memory or is it an energy?
Ooh. I never
Some of
thought of it that way.
Probably. Well, it depends. I mean, because you could go to some place, maybe you've never been there before. So it's not a memory, but you don't like it. Why don't you like it? Is it dull? Does it feel bad? Does it smell funny? What is it that you don't like? But then the flip side, it could be a place you have been. So again, is it the energy in that space? Is it a sensation? Is it a memory?
Memory. Yeah.
So a lot of that ties into how you'd let it go. And some of that can be with people too.
Yeah.
I knew this person 20 years ago, and, we're going to our high school reunion or whatever reunion you're going to, however you're seeing them. And I didn't like that person then. They hurt me then. They hurt my feelings. Whatever it was that they did. Okay, one thing is that's probably not going to be the only person there. For two, they might not even show up. The thing is, too, is if it was long ago and it's a memory, are you the same person you were when you have that memory? So some of that can tie in. Now, of course, it could be different where you're talking about this person's been in my life day to day, family, whatever it is. I think one of the biggest things is first you need to decide what it is. Is it the energy or is it a memory or is it a feeling? What is it you want to let go? The other thing, too, is, ultimately only you can decide what's worth it. And a lot of times this can come down usually to people, but it could be other things, too. That comes into what we talked about last time with the boundaries, which I'm not going there or we'll be on forever. But what are you gaining? What do you enjoy? What are you giving? What are you getting? Some of those questions you have to ask. And letting go, that's complicated too, because you may not see somebody. You might stop seeing them, stop talking to them, not have anything to do with them for a while. But have you really let go?
Right.
Because letting go is deeper than a physicality. It's a memory. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. It's an energy. Some of that we think we need to let go. But really, we're the ones that need the letting go. It has less to do with the external and more to do with the internal. Sometimes we need to do a cord-cutting ceremony where we really are mindful of getting rid of something. And I'm not saying you have to go through the whole spiel of writing things on paper or cutting. I'm just talking about, you know what, making the decision, the intention. I don't want to feel this, do this, think about this anymore. But then you have to hold yourself to it, which means you have to be mindful about it. If you start thinking about it, feeling about it, you need to draw the attention to yourself the way you're thinking or feeling and be like, oh, nope, I decided I wasn't doing that anymore. And in the beginning, it can take some time because it's a habit, and habits take time to break. But if you're consistent with it, just like with the thinking about yourself, if you're consistent with it and you pay attention to what you're doing, the habit you're doing, and you be like, nope, I'm not doing that, and stop it. And you stop it, you go on to do something else. And it might come back, nope, and you have to stop it and do something else. You're replacing that habit with a repetition of being aware and ending it. And over time, it will happen less and less until you've let it go.
At one point, Brian, if we're talking about people and letting go of people, I look at if you have a really, really strong connection with somebody, those connections are really, really hard when you sever them, and painful.
Yes.
At the same time. But if you ask yourself the question, what is in my highest and best interest? And just the honest truth of what comes to you, what is in my highest and best interest? Irrespective of what I want, answer the question, what is in my highest and best interest? When you get that answer and you follow that answer, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And it continues until it becomes painful enough again, and something's got to happen. And again, we come to the crossroads. What is in my highest and best interest? Severing those ties is very challenging depending on who the person is and what the situation is. What I have done, and it has worked, but I can't say it was simple because it did take time, like what Crystal said. It takes time to get somebody out of your system to let go. It's almost like somebody died. But they didn't die. They're just not in your life anymore. I actually was mad because there was this tie. I wanted it done. I want it severed. I actually I spoke it out loud with so much determination. I was so mad. I mean, I was determined not to come into me anymore. And it did work. But what I'm saying to you is I do a lot of speaking out loud to my spirit and to my energy, and I think the power of our voice, of what we can hear is being said, and that command is important. So use that as a tool.
Well, and if you will basically have that conversation in the mirror looking at yourself, I know it sounds crazy and you're going to be like, seriously, she's telling me to talk to myself in the mirror? You know what? I do it. And it works, too, because I'm scarier in the mirror than I am just in tone. So sometimes you can take yourself more seriously if you're looking at yourself and be like, I'm serious about this. You really better pay attention. Sometimes, though, actually talking through things, and it doesn't just have to be that, but different situations, talking it out to yourself or talking out to the mirror, there really is a different impact than just thinking it. It's almost like you're making it real. It's not in your head anymore. You put it out there. You put it in the world. It's not internal. It's external now. And there seems to be some sort of different energy tone with that. Can make it more real. And that can apply to a lot of different things, you know. But I agree with you. And if you're visual and not just auditory, I do recommend the mirror bit. It works.
I think I'd be a little scared to do that.
Really? How come?
Because I don't think I've ever, like, I'm intimidated by myself. I'm gonna have a confrontation. I'm just kidding a little bit. I've never done it. I'm just thinking about it. I think because a lot of times when I talk to myself, I'm actually channeling the answers that I need to hear. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what it does.
Well, when I actually started this, I was, I don't even know if I was a teenager yet. I was young. And it didn't start out with me telling myself what to do. I wasn't bossing myself around. It actually started out with conflicts with other people. And I had been kind of browbeat down. Surprise, surprise, but I wasn't always as, confident. But, I mean, what kid is? But I wasn't always who I am. And I knew conflicts with other people existed, peers, friends, whatever. And I actually started this because it worked for me to play it out. I wouldn't be surprised if I played it out. Like if I knew something was coming to a head, I knew something was going to happen. If I worked it out with myself in the mirror, me being both parties, me being the other person and myself, it was almost like I wouldn't be caught off guard. It was like I gave myself confidence because I had practiced it. And to be honest with you, most of the time, nothing ever happened. But it almost was a confidence builder because I had worked it through in a process, like practicing confrontation, practicing standing up for myself. And that's actually how it started for me. But it was so helpful, even though this is a completely different method or reason. That's why I'm suggesting it. I mean, I know it sounds goofy, and I'm not saying you need to leave the door open and use a megaphone so everybody knows, but if you really look at yourself in the face and you play the part of a couple of people or play the part, both sides, or just give yourself a pep talk. You can do this. You can let go of this. You have it in you. All you have to do is this, and this, and just kind of build yourself up.
You know what? When they talk to you about being a speaker, one of the things they talk about is speaking into the mirror and watching yourself, how you're actually, so that you get used to it and you get a rhythm of it and you hear yourself out loud and all this other stuff. So I actually really like your suggestion, Crystal. I'm going to actually do it and see if I can hear myself.
It's worked for me.
Yeah.
It did. It worked for me.
And you know how many empaths avoid confrontation?
Everybody, apparently.
Avoid confrontation. We don't want to hurt the other person's feelings.
Right.
So in the meantime,
or you don't want to have your feelings be hurt.
Yes.
There's the other side, too, and I get that. But and I'm not saying that this is to be used in a malicious manner. I'm wanting you to use it in a way that boosts yourself, gives you confidence, helps you out. So when it has to do with people, places, and things, you probably need to determine what the main issue is, if it's current, if it's more you, an emotion, something you need to let go of. Some of those can be deciding factors, but sometimes you need to give yourself a pep talk. I mean, if you're helping all these other people or you care, you're worth it. Go give yourself 5 minutes of talking time and see what happens.
He wrote, yes, thank you, family members who I love dearly, and I have been down this road before, and I have heard of the mirror thing. I will try it. You know what? When it comes to family, I'm going to just say this, Brian.
It's hard. It's really hard.
But it's okay. So what do you guys do? Letting go of people, places, or things. Family members who I love dearly, and I have down this road before. It depends what the grievance is and what they're doing. We can love people because we love them at soul level. We can feel them. We've been with them. We see their beauty. Then we have to see what's on the outside. What's the personality doing? What's the ego doing? What is the impact on me of what they're doing? Is this something for me to learn from? Can I in some way change this dynamic? If I can't, and they're just browbeating me, then guess what? I have no choice. I'm going to move back because they're not healthy for me. They're not good for me. There's a lesson in this, and the lesson is, are you going to love yourself or are you going to let someone step all over you? And then there is, are they really stepping all over you, or is this my perception of what's happening? What is the truth of the matter here? Is there a way that I can honor them and have them be who they are without expecting anything different and not be injured by what they're doing? So it's the levels of intensity, and it's your discernment over, can something, is this right for you? Is this in your highest and best interest? Can you make this work? If you love these, do these people love you? Is this the level of love that they can give? If it is, and this is the best they can do, now you have to determine, does this work for me? Is this hurting me? So if something is physically, mentally, emotionally hurting you, you need to step back, ascertain where the deal is. Is it them projecting out, them, hurting you, or is it you trying, invading their space and trying to change them and them teaching you a lesson? So everything is always interrelated. So when I look at this and I say, as Brian, what am I to learn from this? What am I learning from this? Because there's never a situation that's been put in your path that you're not learning from. So it's not that you're right and they're wrong, or they're right, you're wrong. There are levels of consciousness, of maturity. There are roles that we take with people. And when the time is right, contracts, connections, people fall away from our life. Sometimes not. He says, exactly, they're not healthy for me, so I moved away. It is the best for me, but I'm such an emotional HSP. At one time, I was like Crystal, where I wasn't emotional like this. So what I would do is I would honor the emotion, and I would journal about it, feel it, release it. In the process of acknowledging it and sitting with it, you'll release it, because there's guilt associated with this. There's guilt. But if you can honestly say to yourself that you think this is the best thing for you, you release them in love and peace and joy, and you send them love, and you need to come to terms with yourself more than them. Come to terms with yourself
and heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yes, as the HSP, I am. I agree. Thank you, Brian. It was great to hear from you. So anyway, let's just see if there's any questions. There are no questions coming in. So, Crystal, what do you say? You want to wrap this up?
I do, but since we got serious, I'm going to give you guys a little tidbit about me that only my family knows that's kind of humorous before we go.
Sure.
I am terrible at wrapping Christmas packages. I always have been. I hate it. I'm terrible at it. My sister was laughing because she remembered last Christmas she was here. I was trying to do packages. I hate it. I'm terrible at it. So I had other people do it because I just don't care. And she was laughing. She brought up this thought when we were kids. My mom wanted me to wrap something, and I took the funny pages because I found them more entertaining than the Christmas wrap. And I wrapped it in the funny pages from Sunday, and I used like a whole roll of tape. And my mom wanted me to wrap it again because she was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Well, it's wrapped, and look, it's funny." So sometimes with things, it's not necessarily what it seems to be. I admit that I'm not good with the wrapping. I'm terrible at it. I admit it. But it's actually what's inside and the fact that I cared enough to know you might like this. So I'm encouraging people to look beyond the outer shell when you're coming up on the holidays. Maybe look a little deeper. And I bring that up because sometimes we get caught up in all the glam and glory, and really, that's not what matters. So when you go out and get caught up in it, remember, I'm terrible at it. So look a little deeper.
Yes, for sure. And the best Christmas presents I get are the ones I actually buy myself. So buy yourself some Christmas presents, and don't be shy about that, because we need to give to ourselves and of course I'm horrible at buying Christmas presents for my husband, but he looks past my attempts. I'm really good at buying them for myself. So, and we're all good and not so good at certain things. So when we just accept ourselves for what it is, and then we find other people who accept us, good, bad, and indifferent, we've got something good going on. So anyway, I'm going to let every one of you go. Crystal, thank you for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
And,
thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next month. The information will be out, and I hope to see you then. All right. Have a good night, everyone.